Is Ange Postecoglou in trouble at Tottenham? Well, of course he is. It's the Premier League and he lost last weekend, so of course he's in trouble. But should he be? That's really the question. Should he be on the hot seat? Does Tottenham need a change? And does Ange need to go? These are serious questions that are being asked, and the answer to all of them is no. Absolutely not. But because it's Tottenham, because it's the Premier League, it is a real possibility. We're going to break it down next here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub. So of course Ange Postecoglou is on the hot seat because it's the Premier League, and more importantly because it's Tottenham, and we know the leash is short, and he's now approaching almost as many games coached as Antonio Conte had and as Jose Mourinho had at Tottenham, if that is possible to believe at this point. It feels like we're just getting started on the Ange era, but really he's approaching some of the guys that he constantly gets compared to, none of which is fair, none of which is a good idea, and none of which is going to help get the right outcome for Tottenham Hotspur. But Tottenham's going to Tottenham, so here we are. And Ange is not without faults, and he's not without reason for blame in this discussion, and the fact that this discussion is probably worth happening because Ange has brought some problems on himself with his staunch refusal to make any adjustments. So I understand the discussion, but for right now, the answer is a hard, absolutely not. It is not time to see Ange Ball leave Tottenham Hotspur, and we're going to talk about why that is on today's video. But before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Get down in that comment section. Tottenham fans, other fans, do you want to see him go? Do you think he should go? Get in that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub, and check out the website pitchsidepub.com. So it's not just that Ange lost and that he's been losing some games. It's sort of the way it happens, right? And it's a combination of things. It's losing games in these dramatic fashions. You're up 2-0 against Chelsea and you lose 4-3. So those hurt more than just your average loss or your hard-fought loss. It's also because he refuses to change his style. And while I love that about him and I respect it, and for better or worse, we know what Ange Ball is, right? We know what Ange Postecoglou is. He's going to have that high line. They're going to attack. They're going to score goals come hell or high water. The problem is it doesn't change when your personnel is hurt, and they have had some injuries, and it doesn't change when you have a lead. And that has come back to burn him time and time again. So if the question is, does Ange need to make some adjustments? Absolutely, without a doubt. And even though I am an Ange apologist because I like the guy and I like what he's doing and I like the aggressive mentality, you still have to rein it in and you still have to have a time and place. And Ange does not seem to want to do anything differently, right? Plan B is to do plan A better, and that's just simply not working, particularly when you have injuries. So there is plenty of blame to put on Ange Postecoglou here, but it is not all fair, and the expectations again need to be managed. So we have a lot at play here, but it is brought on by the combination of the way the failures have happened and Ange Postecoglou's very outspoken, adamant, unwillingness to change and just willingness to come out and go, I know what I'm doing and I'm right. And that has worked so far, but we are now teetering on the brink of how much longer that's going to work for Big Ange at Tottenham before somebody comes in and says, nope, we got to make a change. There's a couple things you have to take into consideration here. Obviously, when you come off a loss like Chelsea this weekend and you're sitting in 11th place, the noise starts, right? The noise starts, the fans are starting to turn on them a little bit, and that sometimes, especially at Tottenham, is all it takes. And they're hardly the only ones to be blamed here, that have succumbed to fan displeasure and then fire their coach. But Daniel Levy is a sucker for it. He will fire his coach if the fans are unhappy. And so that is a real problem that Ange faces, and he might want to cozy up to the fans a little more than he has been known to do, just out of self-preservation. But so that's noise that is really happening, but part of that is because they're sitting in 11th place, but we need to have some context of what 11th place means right now. Look at the Premier League table right now. The difference between 11th place and 4th place is 7 points. The difference between 11th place and getting into Europe is only a couple of points. The table is so jam-packed right now that this is not your typical 11th place season. This isn't like being in 11th place last year or the year before or most other years where you have fallen well off the pace. Yes, Liverpool's starting to run away with things, but the race for those European spots is still very much within grasp, and no one is pulling away from those because everybody, if you look at that table, everybody in that sort of middle of the pack, Forest, Villa, Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford, Fulham, Tottenham, Newcastle, Manchester United, those guys are all sort of the same caliber in that they can beat you on any given day, and they can also lay an egg and get torched on any given day. And if you had a little season of just those teams, they would all come out very evenly because they're all sort of evenly matched. They all have some strengths, they all have some flaws, they can all beat any team any given day, they can all lose to any team any given day, and that's where Tottenham is, and that is the realistic expectation for Tottenham right now. The worst thing that could have happened to Ange last year was that early success he had that led to a 5th place finish, which was probably an overachievement last year. And it was spearheaded by getting off to a really hot start, and they were in 2nd at one point for a while in the Premier League, and they got off this hot start, and then they faded, and that is more of where they are now. They are probably somewhere in the mix of 5 to 10 in terms of best teams in the Premier League, if you really put them on paper and took a look at who's good and who really, if everyone was playing to their potential, where would they come in? They're not going to win the league. They're probably not in the running for winning the league, even if they played their best every single game. They might be in that discussion for 4, 5, 6 in that range. That's where they'd like to be. So they're not that far off the pace. The table right now is so jam-packed in that top middle half. So we can't just go, oh, they're in 11th and that's unacceptable. Had they won on Saturday, that would have put them all the way up to 9th, right? Because their goal differential is so high. And so we have to have some context on what this means and what 20 points actually gets them right now compared to previous seasons, because 11th is not 11th in a vacuum. That said, Ange, buddy, man, do yourself some favors, right? Do yourself some favors and make an adjustment. When you don't have your full allotment on the field, you can't run the same style that you want to. When Mickey Van de Ven is not out there to chase down those long balls, you can't play as high of a line. This is very simple stuff. And I'm not telling Ange Postecoglou anything he doesn't know, but there is a stubbornness there that is going to get his ass fired. That will be the death of Ange Postecoglou's Premier League career, or at least his Tottenham career, is his stubbornness and his absolute unwillingness to cave when it comes to playing his style. And when it's not working, we're just gonna press higher. And that's gonna beat him. That's what's gonna do it. He does not have the players to pull it off. And all of the planets have to align, and everybody has to be healthy, and everybody has to be informed, and everybody has to be playing their best ball in order for it to work. And when it does, God, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I get why the fans were excited about it and like it. It's if you're gonna lose, I'd rather lose watching that style than watching Antonio Conte's garbage style of football. Even when it wins, it's painful to watch. And so it's a fan favorite and it's a player favorite, but you've got to make these adjustments. They have left points on the pitch because of Ange's refusal to make those in-game adjustments when they have a lead, or even pre-game adjustments when they know they don't have their best 11 out on the pitch. So, Ange, buddy, help yourself out. You got to make some adjustments there. But the question really at hand is, should they fire Ange Postecoglou, right? That's the question. It's not, is he under fire? Yes, he's under fire. The question is, should he be under fire? And the answer is no. Even though he has done plenty to warrant questioning it, you have to ask yourself a couple questions. One, has he lost the locker room? And the answer is absolutely not. In fact, there was some quotes from Christian Romero after the game against Chelsea, and they were really telling. They were interviewing Romero after the game, and he said, "We saw it in the first season. It's the second one that we've suffered a lot of injuries. The players are the first ones to be criticized. Then if we lose 10 games, the staff can be changed, but nobody talks about what is actually happening. We are very happy with this staff, me and my colleagues. We love how they work and the football they try to play. We've got to stick together in difficult moments. It's very important. It's why we need big support. The players are very young and they need support more than we have had before. The fans are always supporting amazingly, and I think it's time the players also need to step up." Now, this is really telling from Romero, right? First of all, he's saying, we like the coaching staff, we like what we're doing, we like coming to work. That's huge. That's huge, because I am generally in the argument that managers are fired way too quickly, and that they generally shouldn't be. They should all be given a longer leash. But one of the justifiable reasons to get rid of a manager, and there are very few good reasons to get rid of a manager in season, but one of the few justifiable reasons is if they have lost the locker room. If the players do not like playing hard for them, they are unmotivated, and they just are not responding to the coaching anymore. That was one of the issues with Erik ten Hag at Manchester United, and why he probably never should have been brought back, but why firing him was understandable, although I generally don't like the mid-season firings. But if you've lost the locker room, you have at least some support from me to make a change. Ange hasn't lost the locker room. They love the guy. They love playing for Ange. They like the style. They want to get out on the front foot. Now, that doesn't mean they should always do it, and it's his job to rein them in, but they like it. They like playing for him, so that's huge. But he also came out and said, some comments about how young the team is and how they need more support, and that's more of a stick it to Daniel Levy, I think, than certainly than Ange or anybody else. So really telling comments from Christian Romero there. And I think it tells you all you need to know. The players are still going to play hard for Ange, and that's half the battle. And because of that, they'll win a fair amount of their games. The other factor here, if that's not a factor and he hasn't lost the locker room, the dressing room, the other factor is who are you going to replace him with? And this is part of the problem with the mid-season coaching changes is who's available? Who's out there? I would love to know your thoughts on this. Get down in that comment section if you are pro firing Ange, or even if you're not, but just think there are guys out there. Who exactly is out there that is going to come to Tottenham right now? It was a massive coup that Manchester United was able to get Ruben Amorim mid-year, and that is only because they are Manchester United. Tottenham's not getting that done, and frankly, with Amorim off the board, I don't know who the next big one is. It's Xabi Alonso, but he's not coming to Tottenham, not in the middle of the year, not in January, not in December. So who is it that you're going to go hire? All the normal suspects have sort of been taken, the usual suspects. Thomas Tuchel's with England, Mauricio Pochettino's with the U.S., Julian Nagelsmann's with Germany. They all went to these international jobs. Who are you going to get, Tottenham fans? Who do you think, if you really want Ange out, and I understand there are some arguments for that, who is it you want to go get, and who is it you think would be an improvement right now? I don't know who that is. I know who's available. I know the names. I don't think any of them are necessarily an improvement. So I would love to know who you think it is, because it is easy to say, oh, we got to get rid of this manager. It's an entire other concept to come up with the name of who's going to replace him, right? So get down in that comment section. Let me know who you think should be replacing him, because I don't know who that person is right now, even though there are plenty of good young unproven managers out there who could make the jump. They're not proven in the Premier League, and I hate bringing in those guys mid-season. If you're going to do the mid-season thing, you got to hope for the new manager bounce. You've got to hope they have an impact. They don't have time to learn the Premier League waters, right? They don't have time to get their feet wet. If you're going to bring in an unproven guy, a guy that's in the Championship, or a guy that's having success in Germany, right? Dino Topmaler from Eintracht Frankfurt, or somebody like that. I would not do that mid-season, because they're never going to have a chance to implement their style in limited training sessions. You're in the thick of the schedule. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. Crystal Palace tried that with Oliver Glasner. They got a little bit of a bump, and it just hasn't worked. I think they would have all been better suited to wait until an off season. So I don't get who they're going to bring in that's going to make a difference right now. So you've got to have a replacement if you want to get rid of Ange. That's always the big question. The last part is, what are the expectations really? What is it that Tottenham haven't accomplished that they're set out to accomplish? Now, they're going for a European trophy here, and they've got a good chance to win the Europa League. They would like to be a little higher in the Premier League, but again, a ball bouncing here, a ball bouncing there, and they're in 7th or 8th place. They're not that far off the pace. So I don't know what the expectations are that Tottenham fans and Daniel Levy think they should be achieving. I know they were in 5th last year and thought that, they spent a lot of money on Dom Solanke and all this sort of stuff, but was being top 4, was competing for a title really in the cards this year? If you think so, you're not being realistic. They didn't spend a lot of money outside of Solanke on proven talent this summer. I did a video on the incredible stable of young players that they have, and they do. Archie Gray is out there playing as a right back, even though he's a midfielder, and they've got a lot of young guys who are really impressive. Young guys are inconsistent. Well, what's Tottenham's biggest problem? They're inconsistent. So it's about what you should expect, that on any given day they can beat anybody, and on any given day they can lay an egg and come out flat. That's part Ange's style, that's part playing young guys. And so they are building something long term, and you've got to support Ange in that if you're going to see that through. So I don't know what the expectations are for Tottenham or what people thought that made them feel like they're now falling so short of that. But whatever they were unrealistic. If you think Tottenham has fallen way off of the expected pace and fallen flat on their face this season, I feel like your expectations were the problem. Could they be better right now? Yes, absolutely. The goal differential signals that they've been a little unlucky. Part of it is bad strategy, right? They only lost to Chelsea by 1. Well, they had a 2-goal lead and committed some dumb penalties. So that's not dumb luck, that's bad decision making. But they have outscored their opponents. Their goal differential is up there with the top of the league. They are second in the league in goals scored. They are doing some things right. They're just not capitalizing on them. So I don't know what your expectations were, but it feels like they are the problem more so than Ange. So I am a self-proclaimed Ange apologist. I do think he's a good coach. I love the personality. I love the leadership. The tactics need some work. The tactics needs some work. He needs to tighten those up. He needs to be willing to make some adjustments, or it will be the end of his Tottenham career, and it will be justified when that time comes. If he does not make any adjustments, the firing, when it comes, will be justified. But right now, I don't see the replacement. I don't know who you're going to bring in that's better, and I don't think the performance has been that far off of the expectations. Those are my thoughts. I would love to get yours. Get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think about this entire situation, Ange, everything. Get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. You can also leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub. While you're at it, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel and check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.